So, you've been tasked with leading change in your team or your organization, and you might be asking yourself, what are my advantages here? Are there any advantages or how I'm going to benefit from taking on this pretty challenging role? Breathe easy. There absolutely are advantages for taking on this role, and I'm here to share a few of them with you right now. Let's get it. Leading change in your team or your organization can be challenging, daunting, overwhelming, and very stressful. Maybe you're considering becoming a change leader, or you've been recently told that you have to become one. And you're wondering, what are my advantages here? How can I benefit from this? Well, by the end of this video, you're going to be armed with 3 major advantages of taking on that role of change leader. From the opportunity increased visibility commands, to strengthen resilience, to the power of growing and strengthening your network. Advantage number 1, increased visibility. When you're the one responsible for leading the change, especially when it's a really high priority and highly complex change, it's going to invite you or enable you with the opportunity to have increased exposure to your leadership, maybe even your most senior leaders. And that's your opportunity to shine. Not only to get more comfortable with sharing updates and communicating to those much higher than you in the organization, but also the chance to fine-tune your leadership, bringing in your teammates, bringing in members from your organization to share those updates as well, elevating the entire team as you move through the journey. You know, I can remember when I was a manager working in the battery industry, and I was an innovation leader, and I was leading one of the biggest innovations that company had seen in its past 3 decades of battery delivery. And I was in charge of actually leading the innovation in the North American region. And this was a very high priority and a highly complex innovation delivery. And I can remember that I was giving weekly updates to the senior most executives in the company, updates that eventually got up to the CEO. And at first it was a little bit daunting. It was a little bit exhausting because prior to that, I remember, there would be days, weeks of getting prepared, going to talk to really big senior leaders. But now I was having to do it every week. So I couldn't stress and spend all those days preparing. I had to have my same structure, really just get my mind around what words I wanted to share, who I wanted to bring into the update, and it became more second nature. And I got a lot more comfortable speaking in front of really high-level senior executives. And you'll do the same as you're in this change leadership role, especially if it's a high priority change. Take advantage of those moments where you're exposed to higher levels of leadership. Leaders that perhaps don't always get to see your work or the work of your team. It's a great opportunity for you to get increased visibility across the entire organization. Advantage number 2, a strengthened resilience. No matter how well that we've planned for a given change journey, no matter how well we've integrated change management, there's always going to be setbacks, especially when an initiative is really complex. There's a lot of moving parts and a lot of different individuals responsible for making the change happen. And as a leader, you're going to be right in the center of dealing with those setbacks, having to understand what went wrong, having to understand what was learned, and communicating those failures up to leadership, as well as the subsequent risks that might have been invited because of that. And by going through that, by having to experience those setbacks, by having to communicate risks, you're going to be naturally building that resiliency. There'll be days where things will be going very, very well. You're hitting all your success metrics. You're right on path. And then there's going to be times when you're not quite on track. And you've got to figure out a way to get you and your team back on track. And then, of course, communicate that up to senior leadership. And I will tell you, these are like battle wounds. The more times that you can be in that red hot center, leading these change initiatives, understanding what needs to happen, what risks have to get communicated, where was the failure, what did you learn from that, how do we avoid that in the future, you're going to be learning how to thrive in a highly volatile and complex business world. And I will tell you from the research that we've done in partnership with a leading research institute called CGK, we have found that about 80% of working Americans trust and believe that really effective leaders know how to motivate others who are feeling resistant to change. And in turn, they know how to be resilient and practice that resiliency. And so by being in this role, you're going to have the opportunity to really strengthen that resilience muscle, which of course we do through the practice of experiencing change. By the way, if you're digging this content, make sure you subscribe, like, click notifications. I do videos like this all the time. I am here to hook you up, but you got to subscribe so that you're the first to get notified when a video drops. All right, let's get back into it. Advantage number 3, growing and strengthening your network. You know, so often when we're having to lead really big change that touches a lot of different teams and organizations across the entire enterprise or the whole business, you're going to get exposure to leaders and individuals that you likely wouldn't have gotten exposure to before. And you know, before when I talked about that visibility, the exposure to senior leaders, that's probably going to be cross-functional. So use that to your advantage. Maybe after a review, you want to get together one-on-one with a leader that you haven't had much exposure to in the past. Learn more about them and their role. How can you and the team that you're leading be more supportive of them? It is such an incredible opportunity to connect with people across the organization that you wouldn't have had exposure to before. You know, as I mentioned, that innovation delivery that I was leading back in that battery company, there were so many senior level executives that I got exposure to that I then integrated into my network, and one of them actually became one of my mentors. This is a huge opportunity for you as you have this increased visibility to actually find those individuals that you want to keep connected with, that you want to make sure are part of your network. Not only will there be opportunity for you to perhaps find new mentors, but you also might encounter team members in the organization that would like you to become their mentors. And I will tell you, this idea of reverse mentorship is something that's becoming more and more prevalent over these past few years, but it is hugely, hugely valuable to find those younger in the organization that you can share some of your perspective and insights with, and that you yourself can learn from. I think as I look across industries and businesses that I have the opportunity to work with, there's like 5 or 6 generations within business cultures. And so the more that we can learn from generations that are not our own, I think the better that we'll become in navigating through our careers. Cool. So if you got value from that, I got something else for you, and it's for free. So I want to share with you a recording of a keynote that I did for a client that was going through tremendous change and disruption, both in the market as well as internally. And I want to share this snippet of the keynote where I was talking specifically about tools and skills to lead others through change when they're experiencing perhaps some of those more difficult emotions of change like anxiety or frustration or feeling some resistance. And I want to share that recording with you for free. All you got to do is click on the link below. I want to make sure that you have the data, the insights, and the perspective to help fuel your growth through even your most challenging changes. I'm Cassandra Worthy, and until next time, keep growing and keep rocking.